Christmas in the 70s, a time when we still looked at the Sears catalog for our Christmas gifts, right? I'll bet you remember writing letters to Santa after you'd looked through it and circled everything you wanted. The toys under the trees back then weren't just playthings, they were cultural phenomena. Whether we knew it or not, they defined our childhood as Gen Xers. So today, we're going to take a little look back, a nostalgic trip, if you would, and explore the most iconic toys of the 1970s that every kid hoped was under the Christmas tree. I haven't numbered these this time because they were all great toys. So get ready, here we go. You're experiencing a Gen X flashback. Atari 2600, released in 1977. When the Atari 2600 first came out, it was known as the Atari Video Computing System. The good old Atari had a lot of hype behind it because it really was the first gaming system for home for the masses. Granted, though, its original price of $199.95 was like spending $1,050 on one today, so it wasn't a cheap gift. But that didn't stop anyone from buying millions of these consoles. How many of you remember the Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle? Now, this was released in 1973, and back then, the Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle was a sensation just like Evel Knievel himself. The toy let kids launch a miniature Evel over ramps, through obstacles, and into action-packed stunts. And all through the 70s, it was solidly on everyone's Christmas list. Original price was $9.95, and that would cost you about $55 today. G.I. Joe Adventure Team. Now, these were larger G.I. Joes, not like the smaller ones that we had in the 80s. They had interchangeable uniforms and had a lot of cool items. They had some vehicles to go along with it, like a helicopter and a jet, and my personal favorite, because I had one, the Seawolf submarine. Hey, let me know in the comments if you had the Seawolf or any of these G.I. Joe characters, because they weren't around very long. Back then they were $6.95, today they'd be $38. But they go for a lot more than that if you're a collector. Lincoln Logs. Now, these are one of the oldest toys on the list. 1916 is when they came out. Pretty simple concept, pieces of wood that had cutouts so you could stack them up and build them into a frontier fortress or whatever kind of home you could imagine. They were really good for driving our semi-trucks through after we'd build them. You could spend a lot of hours with these, and they were great family fun too. Rock'em Sock'em Robots, released in 1966. This classic toy featuring battling robots was still a big hit in the 70s. You had the red guy and the blue guy, and they'd fight each other. You'd sit and push all the buttons until you knock somebody's block off. It was a great way to duke it out with your best friend or your brother and sister without mom getting too upset. Just under $12 back in the day, that translates to $66 in today's money. Star Wars action figures, released in 1977. Now, although the official action figures wouldn't arrive until late 77 or early 78, now the success of Star Wars kind of caught Kenner, the toy maker, off guard. And to make up for it, even though they didn't have toys to sell, you could buy early bird certificates. I've got them pictured here. They were marketed as a gift of the future because you wouldn't receive it until some time in the future. However, we know that these would go on to be one of the most successful toys and toy movie tie-ins of all time. They're still selling them today. A special shout out to my friend Randall Jones for this great suggestion. Stretch Armstrong. He came out in 1976. He was a goo-filled muscle man that you just couldn't break. And believe me, we tried. Kids wanted to pull him apart, twist him, stretch him, bind him up, and then sit back and watch him just unfold again. $11.99 would get you one back in the 70s, but you'd have to cough up $66 if you wanted the same thing today. Thank you, Sherry Hester, for reminding us that we couldn't leave slot cars out of this review. And I picked this one, the Tyco Night Glow. Now, back in the 70s, it was brand new. The track was illuminated, the cars had headlights, not to mention you had the cool glow-in-the-dark guardrails and stickers that lighted this thing up. You could turn the lights off and run the cars in the dark. It's pretty cool. $29.95 was what would take it home back then. Adjusted for inflation, that's $145 today. And finally, for all the Barbie enthusiasts out there, the Barbie Dreamhouse, which actually was released back in 1962. It grew over the years, though, and by the 1970s, it was enormous. Not to mention, it had one of the longest commercials that I found for any of the toys on this list. The deluxe version, which was the top tier in it, had tons of stylish interiors, furniture, and it perfectly complemented Barbie's glamorous lifestyle. Anyway, originally, this only cost $19.99. Adjusted for inflation cost, $110. Yeah, Christmas in the 70s was truly a magical time. It was filled with dreams of Evel Knievel jumps, Barbie's lifestyle, and futuristic racetracks. Did you guys have some of these? If so, tell me in the comments. I'd like to know. Also, did your tree look like this? Now, ours didn't. Ours was an artificial one, looked like this. If you had a good time watching this and reliving some of your Gen X memories, I would love it if you would leave us a comment or a like, or maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. And I just want to wish you a very merry and happy Christmas and wonderful New Year. And even though we looked at a lot of gifts today, remember, God sent His special gift to you, and His name is Jesus. Thanks a lot for watching, and God bless.